Hello everybody, Miles Kessler here, and welcome to this short video to support your meditation practice. And today's video is on meditation and the three aspects of learning. Learning is something that we all kind of love to do. In fact, I think it is the juice of life that we learn. When we learn, we become more, we grow, we evolve. We take on more perspectives, we take on more dimensions, we get deeper, we get broader, we light up through learning. And there's actually three aspects to learning, or three parts of learning, that when all three parts are there, learning happens. But if you remove one of these parts, in a way, the learning, I can learn something new, but if it doesn't include these three aspects of the learning process, the thing that I learned will be lost in a few days, a few weeks, or whatever. And the three aspects of learning are simply theory. That's number one. Number two is practice. And number three is reflection. That we must have these three aspects of theory, practice, and reflection for the learning to go in, for it to become integrated, an integrated part of who we are. Theory is just that. It's kind of an intellectual, abstract understanding of a field of practice. So there's something out there that somebody discovered, they learned it, they take it, they're able to explain it or write it down for you and say, hey, this is it. Look, there's this formula, and that's reality. Look at that. And we can read books and we can study and we can learn a lot of theories, and it's like, oh yeah, that's really good. Okay, now I understand. And we will understand, but we'll only understand intellectually. We have to have practice or practical experience for that theory to actually come alive. So in a way, theory is like the map and practice is like the territory. Everybody knows that the map is not the territory. So when we have a map, that's really interesting. Now we read that and we have to walk in the territory. That's what practice is all about. Take our meditation practice. Theory is super, super important. There are many people, and many, including myself, and many times in our meditation journey that we're just meditating. That it's like, wow, okay, I'm just going to forget all that stuff. It's too much. I'm just going to sit and be quiet. And that's great. That's fantastic. But having a little bit of theory, for example, that there is a blueprint to consciousness, that the meditation journey unfolds in a very predictable way along that blueprint of consciousness, and that your blueprint of consciousness and my blueprint of consciousness and his and hers and everybody else's blueprint of consciousness is the same blueprint of consciousness. And if you practice meditation in certain ways, the path will unfold in a predictable manner. Wow, that sounds great. That's a theory. That's a theory. So, okay, cool. So if it sounds great, read that map. Good. Now let's walk the territory. So you get into the territory and you start walking the territory. Without theory, sometimes the walking of the territory can be very random. Sometimes we'll be meditating a little bit like this, a little bit like that, or not at all, or we think we're meditating, but we're just daydreaming, or, all these things are potential things that can happen for every meditator. But having a little bit of theory just kind of frames it up and helps kind of guide our practice in a developmental manner. Of course, development happens organically. When you sit down to meditate, there is no map inside your mind. There is no theory when you're meditating. It's direct experience. But when you look back, you'll realize, oh, right, my experience is matching up to the theory. The path that I'm walking on is matching up with the map. That happens, you start to see that through the third phase of learning, and that's reflection. That you must have some reflection. You read the map, you walk the territory, you understand the theory, you do the practice, and then you take some time to consciously reflect. Interesting. The map is like this, and this is the territory. I'm discovering this in the territory. It doesn't say that in the map. Let me understand more about the map. oh yeah, right, okay, there is a theory that includes that. And I start to understand what's going on. And reflection as like the glue that holds the map and the theory together. Now, these three phases, I'm speaking about meditation right now, but these three phases of learning are relevant to meditation, but they're also relevant to any type of learning in life. Theory, we have some Dharma. We have some good meditation theory, directions, guidance, framework, structures, ideas, understandings, lists of what is and what isn't the path of meditation to understand our meditation practice. Practice is basically what we're doing most of the time when we're meditating, unless we're thinking, which also we're doing quite a bit. But sitting down and practice, just differentiating with your mind, with the mindfulness, and able to observe the rising experience. That again is walking the path of meditation. The path unfolds automatically. That's the practice. We have the theory and the practice. And in fact, in Buddhist traditions, theory and practice were from day one, pariyati and pati. The monks and the nuns were studying the Dharma and they were practicing the Dharma all for thousands of years. This is a tradition that's been going on to this day. But these two things must have reflection. We have to be able to sit back and reflect on theory. We have to be able to sit back and reflect on practice for the learning to happen. Reflection can happen in many ways. You can actually sit and write a journal. You can just sit with a cup of tea and think about the experience. That's fine. Reflect back on it. You can go for walks in nature, and often reflection happens kind of automatically. You can enter into Dharma discussions with other meditators or teachers or other practitioners, even practitioners from other meditation traditions. Get into a discussion and start to that's a reflecting process. So reflection is super, super important in our practice. And as I said, these three things are necessary for learning to happen, because if you just have theory and reflection, read a lot or study a lot and then reflect on it, but no practice, no actually walking the path of practice, there's no learning. If you just have practice and reflection, I practice, meditating, reflecting, that was cool, meditating, that was interesting, meditating, but no frame with which to hold it in, that this blueprint is there and it's happening in this way, then also learning it's kind of incomplete. It doesn't really happen fully. And if you just have practice and theory, or theory and practice, but never stop and reflect, never enter a Dharma discussion, never take notes, never keep like a graph of your practice over time. Some people like to kind of keep data points of their practice, whatever. I did this much practice, I did that much practice. If you don't have these types of things, then if there's no reflection in the practice, then also the learning doesn't happen. So when there's theory, and when there's practice, and when there's reflection, learning happens in a deep and integrated way. Not just in our meditation practices, which is what I'm talking about here today, but also in life. Anything that we're learning in life, we need a little bit of theory. Really, just a little bit. You can have a lot, but you only really need a little bit. We must have practice where we get the practical experience of that theory, and then there needs to be some reflection on why it's like that. And when you have these three aspects of learning, of theory, of practice, and reflection, the learning happens. It drops in, it sinks in. It becomes an integrated part of who you are. So with that, I want to wish you all a great path of practice, and may your learning drop in deep, and may become an integrated part of you as you learn through theory, as you learn through practical experience, and as you learn through reflection.